I'm so glad y'all are here. Um, so if you have, first of all, let us know where you're coming from. We're going to wait a few minutes on just to make sure if there's any stragglers coming in. I know that sometimes trying to find uh, that elusive Zoom link is will be challenging sometimes. So I definitely find myself scrambling. Melbourne, yay, Connie, yay! I froze. Am I still frozen, Michael? I think hi for week two. Yay, hi, Lori. Calgary, excellent. LaQuinte. Oh, you know what, Joanne? We're close. I think we talked about that. That's right. Long Island, welcome back, Tara. Um, and Michael, Philippines. Woohoo! Emmy, Ontario. Excellent. We've got a nice international group. Last week we had some people from Europe. So far we've got a few continents represented here, which I'm very excited about. And if you were here last week, put a one in the chat. Yes. Excellent. Tara was here. Michael, Joanne, Lori. Oh, Connie, you watched it yesterday. Great. I hope it was useful. This last week's is going to build up to this week's. This is one of my favorite ones to do. This actual workshop I do for half a day because there are other, we're going to be talking about the three most successful storytelling frameworks, but I've actually kind of discovered 13. So sometimes we'll take all day just to figure it out. So, or just to share those 13. I just watched it yesterday. I got started on as well. Oh, excellent, Connie. Oh, that's exciting. Yay, yay, yay. Fantastic. Who are Melody? Welcome. Oh my goodness. Suchin. Let us know where you're calling in from. Very excited to see this very international, diverse group. Exciting. So far we've got Philippines, Canada, Northern Alberta. We've got Sydney, Australia. We've got a few Australias here. La Quinta, California, just right around the corner from me. Melbourne, Australia. Excellent, excellent. Ha ha. Oh, hi, Melody. You raised your hand. Do you want to unmute yourself for a second? Ask your question, or you can ask it in the oh, Melody, you're coming from Spain. Happy. Okay, we got another continent represented. Fantastic. That's four. Suchin, where are you calling in from? Sydney. Oh, yes. Sorry, you said that already. Excellent. Excellent. I've not been to Sydney, but I have been to Melbourne. So I definitely want to get myself there sometime soon. Especially also New Zealand. I actually was supposed to go to New Zealand last year, and I could not believe the visa application. I feel like I had to give them my firstborn just to make sure that I wasn't, going to stay there. Best city in Australia, Melbourne. I agree, Connie. It's very, very beautiful. And I had a lovely, lovely time there. Excellent. So I think this is great. We have a nice Mavis. Where are you coming in from? I think you're new. I don't think I've seen you here before. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. We've got some new friends and old friends. Kathy, Northern Alberta as well. All right. Fantastic. Morning, Mavis. Hawaii. Aha, nice. Oh, which island? One of my favorite islands is so Honolulu, nice. I've spent some time there and many a wedding, I have to say. But I've also spent a lot of time on the Big Island, which I just adore. So, all right, let's get started. I have a lot to cover, and I'm so excited to share these frameworks with you. Um, Yay. All right. So, if you are here, you are attending the second week of a 4-week series of Operation TEDx 2025. And you are getting ready to make sure that next year, 2025, is your year to get on that global stage. And I'm here, hopefully, in these next 4 weeks to help you get there. A lot of this stuff, once you grasp it, you can start applying right now. And I am hoping that that's what you get to take away from these 4 weeks. Because my personal mission is to get as many underrepresented voices, especially women, especially people of color, on these global stages where they deserve to be heard. And deserve to drive the conversation because there is so much going on in the world, and a lot of the voices we're hearing are only people that don't look like us here in the room, right? So I am thrilled that, and you guys just being here, you are also meeting my very, very exciting mission to help you and others get on this stage. So, this week, we're week two. I'll be sharing the three of the most successful storytelling frameworks for an unforgettable talk. And I wanted to share with you why I wanted to do this because, not only do I have this mission, I also know that TEDx changed my life. I am a three-time TEDx speaker. And the first time I was invited to speak at the my first TEDx talk, I that one talk yielded one, an invitation to speak at the US Capitol, two, teach at Stanford, and three, get two more TEDx talks. So I have been on hundreds of stages across the globe, spoken at the US Capitol, spoken at the United Nations, UN Women, World Economic Forum, all around the world. And what for me, actually, Connie, I have three talks. So the first one is about how one person can change the world and how you can find your passion and kind of stumble upon your vision, upon your purpose, just if you're open to the world. The second one is all about how to build a movement. I actually built a million voice choir after the tragedy of September 11th. I was supposed to be in the World Trade Center when the planes hit, and I called in sick, and so I wrote this song, this peace song. I traveled around the world, inviting people to be part of it, and we had over 100 cities in 60 countries, singing from all around the globe. So that was my second one. And my third talk, after I built the choir, I started doing water projects in both the Philippines, Michael, and in sub-Saharan Africa, because that slogan, it takes a single drop of water to start a wave. That was my first, I think that was my second talk. Um, when I when I was using that metaphor, people started to think of me as the lady singing for water, because I was using all these wonderful water metaphors, um, inviting people to see themselves as that powerful drop of water. Their every thought, their every word, their every action is that drop of water. It will ripple out. It will affect those people, everyone around you. So to use your power for good. So that was so I started doing water projects, and then after that, I got invited to teach at Stanford, and I became an academic. And my dirty little secret is that I don't have a college degree. So here I am, sort of stumbling on this life. My first talk is called "How to Accidentally Change the World," because everything that happened to me after September 11th was transformative and unexpected. So that's how TEDx changed my life. TEDx changed a few other people's lives, well, many, many other people's lives, but the two that I think are the most significant, and you may not think that they were a TEDx talk. They were actually, or that you might have thought they were on the TED stage, which is the main stage. They actually had TEDx talks, and it was Brene Brown. She was the one who talked about the power of vulnerability. And then there's Simon Sinek, who used yes, I love Brene too, Connie. And then there was Simon Sinek, who used a flip chart to talk about, start with the why. That is like one of the core, I don't want to say just memes, but that is a zeitgeist, right? That notion and that idea runs across sectors and runs across lives and everything, because everything emerges from your why. And both of them were TEDx speakers. So this is the kind of change that can happen, the kind of breadth where your message is. The other day, I just wrote a newsletter that was all about your message being medicine. There are people out there who want to learn what you have to offer. And that's one of the main, I think goals that people have when they want to get a TEDx talk. They're not getting it just because they want to build their business. Certainly that's going to be a byproduct, but they want to do it because they know they're going to help people. They know someone is going to resonate with their message. They know that when people apply the ideas that you have, they will transform. We will see transformation. So that's the reason I wanted to tell you all that because, I it changed my life. I've spoken on hundreds of stages in 36 countries. So this is my way of like getting all of you also on those stages and being able to share your message across the world. So, this is all about that. If you're here, you're either a coach or an educator, or maybe you're an author, maybe you're a consultant, a nonprofit leader. In the chat, can you tell me which one you are, or if you are many? I would consider myself a speaker, a coach, and an author. What are you? Who's in the room? I want to make sure everybody knows who's in this room and how inspiring they are. Emmy's a coach. Excellent. Yes, Connie, you are many speaker, author, changer. I love that changer. Uh, uh, Oh, Joanne. Oh, if you haven't booked a call with me, do it. Joanne, you and I, we had a blast. I'm so, so excited. Mavis, oh, you're a psychologist, coach and speaker. Nice. Michael, customer service. Oh my gosh, I love that. I love that. Customer service is one of the main things that are going to be so important now in this age of AI, in this age of machine learning, in this age of augmented reality, all of these things. So, oh my gosh, Michael, I'm so excited for you. Sue Chen, entrepreneur, coach, speaker, author. Woo woo, three hyphens. I'm not hyphens, but three slashes. Coach, author, speaker, trainer. Excellent, Joanne. Connie booked a call with you for Sunday. Yeah, Saturday. Oh, I'm excited, Connie. Emmy, menstrual educator and menopause coach. Oh my gosh, Emmy, thank you for doing that. Could have used you a few years ago when I started to have that little journey. Kathy, oh my gosh, speaker, author, co-host of award-winning podcast, award-winning ambassador for women. Heavy equipment officer. Wow, operator, largest mining equipment in the world. That is, I love that breadth of experience that you have, Kathy. One of the workshops that I do is all about like, how do you take some of those random skills that you learn from what's these jobs and these experiences that seem really random and unrelated, and how do you take them all and just like show people this is my experience. This is my background. This is what I've been able to do here. My skills. I'm the only person in the world who can do this, which I love. Yeah, that's right, Miss Kathy. That's a badass bio. Lori, addictions instructor, mindset. Oh, thank you for your work. Speaker, author, infinity mindset coach. Beautiful. Wow, we've got a pretty. I mean, I would say this is a pretty badass group right here. Awesome. All right, let's dive in. So, just as a review, some of you who were here last week, we talked about this. Just want to get some foundational information about what TEDx is and what TEDx is not. Uh, so, just so you have the history, TED, it was started out with TED, and then it was only for these elite groups, and it was also these experts and these, who had all these credentials. And then they realized that there were more ideas out there, not just these elite experts. And so they started to develop what are called TEDx or self-organized events. And it meant that anybody in the world who wanted to host a TEDx event and bring in their own speakers using the criteria that TED uses so that, the caliber of the talks were standardized. That's how this big movement began. And so just as a reminder, TEDx, what TEDx is, it's about innovation, it's about innovative ideas, it's about new, fresh perspectives on traditional norms, it's introducing maybe new research, It's challenging the status quo, something that's unfair or unequal or inequitable, and then it inspires or causes change. So you could have any one or all of those as part of what your TEDx talk is, but that's in general what makes it different than other presentations. So what TEDx is not is that, oh, I'm choppy. All right. So how's everyone doing? Did you catch pretty much all that? Is anybody else having trouble hearing me? Okay. All right. So I haven't heard from anyone. I loved your idea. Yes, the idea framework is great. Okay, it's choppy, but we can get it all. I'm wondering, you know what? Maybe I'll remove my audio, my microphone, because that might be it. How's that? Is that better? I want to make sure you guys hear it all. Ah, excellent. But you can't see me. Okay. What did I just do? Oh, I unplugged the wrong thing. There we go. I'm going to, okay. How about now? Can you hear me and can you see me? All right. There we go. Can't see me, cam's off, no see you, but sound good. Excellent. All right, here we go. I think we're back. Okay. So what TEDx is not. TEDx is not, you can't have, they don't really like it when you have a political or religious agenda. They don't want any pseudoscience, so they really, really want to see evidence of, whatever you're proposing and then, or claiming, and then they obviously don't want anybody promoting anything. This is about sharing ideas, not about trying to get customers. So that's what it's not. Here's the thing about TED and what I love about what has just happened with TED this year, TED and TEDx. I'm sure you guys know this, the first slogan that TED had was ideas worth spreading. So it was really passive. It was just like, hey, we've got some great ideas, do with it what you will. But now they've changed it as of April. They changed it to ideas change everything. And I think that's such a significant change because now it's not about offering passive ideas. It's actually inviting people to bring us ideas that will change things. They want to put a stake in the ground about building a movement where their ideas that are being shared on their stages can have an impact. And so that's what I love about it. And that's kind of where I steer my clients to really think about, is this an idea worth spreading, or can we step it up and take it to the ideas change everything? And not everyone actually has realized that change has happened. I see a lot of the TEDx stages, they still have ideas change everything on their websites. So this ideas change everything is going to put you ideally up, another notch when we really dig into that. Excellent, excellent. All right. So quickly, I want to go through, let me share my screen. I wanted to go through what the process is so you get a sense of how this 4-week session is working so that you can have what you need to apply after you attend these. So the TEDx process is you start with your idea and then you come up with, what the impact's going to be, what the, takeaways are going to be, why it's innovative and different, etc. Then you will apply. And the application requires you to ask those certain questions, right? What's your title? What's the impact it's going to have? What are the how is it going to change the audience, or what are the audience going to be able to do as a result or think as a result? And then it requires that you actually tell us about your expertise, why you're the person who is the one to share this message or this idea. And sometimes there's an application video when you apply the first time. Usually it's about 1 minute. They just want to see how you engage and how you present. Sometimes they will not ask for it when you first apply. When you get to the second stage, sometimes they'll ask you to do one, but sometimes it's a little bit longer, like 2 to 3 minutes. So that's the application video. And then there's sometimes an audition for people for TEDx events that are local that people can actually come speak live. And then there's the acceptance and or there's phases to the acceptance. So what we're covering mostly is the first two. We're going to be covering the novel idea that will change everything and then the application. And that's through last week, it was about your idea. This week's about storytelling. Next week is about the application. And then the final week is going to be about where do you find these gigs and, where should you apply? Okay, let's dive into the stories. So there are, just as a basic, simple structure to story, there are three of them. The setup is the first stage. So that's basically sharing, giving you context to what the story is going to be about, who it's going to be about, and what their want is. What is it that they want? What is it that they want? Then there's the struggle. The struggle is, trying to get what they want and coming upon many, many obstacles to get there. And then the outcome of what the struggle was, what the peak conflict was, and what has happened as a result of that, those three stages. So that's the basic structure of a story. So when we talk about stories and we share this information, about ourselves, if we're talking about ourselves, the thing that connects us to other people is their struggles, right? What are the struggles that we might be having? And here are the 5 types of struggles that have been identified. It's human versus human. So that would be, 2 people having some sort of conflict or human having, or groups having another conflict with groups. Then there's human versus nature. And when we talk about nature, we talk about the natural world. So whether it's a tornado, whether it's, Connie, you have the whole 5. Wow, that's going to be great. That's going to be a rich conversation, rich story. By nature, like I said, I mean the natural world. So whether it's tornadoes or natural disasters, whether it's, being stuck out being lost somewhere, that's kind of what human versus nature looks like. Human versus the environment. When I say environment, I don't mean the natural world. I mean your surroundings, whether that be your family, whether that be your work surroundings, your neighborhood, your community. That's your environment, because certainly there are a lot of stories about, the human the human struggles actually impacted and informed by what is surrounding your environment. Human versus society is all about, it's about human rights. Maybe it's about the rights to healthcare, whether it's justice, whether it's, these cultural issues that are creating systems of oppression or inequity or whatever. And then there's human versus self. Human versus self is probably in every single individual story, because the self is the one making the choices, and the choices is where the struggles are, right? If you are coming upon a challenge, the choice that you make is going to inform which direction you go. And that direction could be unknown, that direction could be stay where you are, that choice could have made you step backwards, right? So we're always going to have that self element. So if you guys does anyone understand that piece? If you do, then can you put in the chat which one do you think, or which ones do you think your stories will align with in terms of these struggles? Is it human versus environment? Thank you, Michael. Yes, with your customer service, for sure. Emmy, human versus self. Absolutely, that makes perfect sense. Self, Kathy, yeah. Yeah. And, with the human versus self, those are places where we connect so much with people, because they're experiencing, they will be able to align with you. Anyone else have any? You have the whole 5, Connie. Yep. Suchen, you have 1, 3 through 5. So you've got human, environment, society, self. Yeah. Human and self. Absolutely. Great. Lori, 3, 4, and 5, environment, society, and self. Excellent. So this is kind of at the core. When you find out what that struggle is, then you can start, because each one of these struggles have it's not so much they have a certain framework, but there's richness you can add to each one of these that will make us connect on different levels, especially with the self versus self. So, all right, great. Good to know who's in the room and what stories there are. So I've discovered there are about 13 different TEDx frameworks. And the ones that I see are probably the most successful, and the ones that are probably the most uh, used and familiar are the Pixar framework. And I'll share that. That's a framework that Pixar and Disney uses all the time. Problem solutions, so introducing the problem and then introducing the solution, and then the nested loop where you have a story in a story. So I'm sharing those because they each build on each other. And once you have these sort of foundations, it'll be easier for you to frame your stories. So, because that's a really good start. But the other 10 that I've discovered, there's the hero's journey. So the hero's journey is like, Lion King and Moana and all these others, where the protagonist is called to do something big, and then they go through all these challenges, and then they come back to their community, a changed person, and the world's changed as well. There's a 3X story, very similar to what I showed you earlier. Then there's the before and after. This is what the world was before. This is what the world was after. There's the underdog story where somebody overcomes something, or an unexpected person overcomes something and does something that was completely unexpected. There's the moral of the story. So looking at what the moral can be. What is the story telling you about your values? What is it telling you about what you can be doing? So those are those 5, and the last 5 is the facilitator's approach. Some of you guys are coaches, so maybe you're going to walk them through a certain experience or a certain exercise so that they can immediately see what's the change that's happening with them. There's the hook and the reveal where you set them up for this story, and then all of a sudden something unexpected happens, and it really you have the audience sort of leaning in and trying to hear what's happening next. Then there's the Sparkline. It's actually a storytelling framework that was designed by this woman. It's a little bit in depth to talk about, but that's one of them as well. The public narrative. I don't know if you've ever really heard or really broken down somebody like Obama. His talks are introducing a personal story, then taking that personal story and connecting it to others, so that that answers the question why we should care, and then takes us on the next step where we can do something together to make change. So that's the public narrative, and it was designed out of Harvard. It's a really good, it's one of my favorite ones. And then there's the Shiro's journey, which is something that I also came up with, which is all about where in many of the hero's journey stories, there's a lot of conflict, there's violence, there's wars and all that stuff. And in Shiro's journey, there's a lot of collective action where women come together and go through the journey together and make the changes as a collective. So question in urban legends, what story framework is that? Urban legends might be, it depends on what the urban legend is. Is it about some ghost that appears in the woods, or is it about something that happened that changed a community, right? An Oregon heist. Interesting. Well, that could be society if it has a societal message with a cautionary tale. Yeah. So it could be an individual human versus human, or it could be a human versus society if there's a message around, the dysfunctionality of organ donations and organ access. So yeah, there could be a few.
Yeah, Michael. So that's interesting. That's an interesting insight. All right, let's start with the first one, Pixar framework. So this is probably the simplest and the easiest way to teach people storytelling. This is like how stories are designed, because essentially what stories are about is you're talking about what the world is before you go on this journey or you have this challenge, and how the world is after. And that could be how you have changed behavior, could be how people you've met or know have changed, or it's how society has changed or the environment, right? And so this is actually a framework that you can teach children storytelling, and it's really powerful. So it's once upon a time, and then you talk about the protagonist who and their normal world. And every day they would do this. So this is their normal world until one day there's this disruption. Something happens and is disrupting their normal. And then because of that disruption, something happens. And because of that disruption, another challenge happens. And because of that, even another challenge happens. And then finally, maybe there's this epiphany or peak conflict that all of a sudden they have to make this big choice. Are they going to leap forward and change things, or are they going to stay where they are or fall backwards? And if they change, if they take that leap ever since then they've just created a new normal. So let me give you an example. So here's sort of the the journey, right? If you were to imagine it being sort of a journey across some environmental um, scenario. So the setup is we learn about um, the protagonist. We find out who that person is or that animal is, right? Like in The Lion King. So we'll use The Lion King as an example. So once upon a time, there was a lion that wanted to be king. His father and his tribe, I forgot what it's not tribe, it's their pride, were living healthily in this healthy environment, um, except that he wanted to be king, and he was really desiring to grow up faster than he could. And then, so that was and every day he would go out and challenge himself and try to, prepare himself to be king. Then one day he got into a terrible scenario where he was, who went where he wasn't supposed to go, and then his father tried to help him, and he dies. So there's the disruption. So because of that, he had to run away and leave, and because of that, he had to change. The first challenge, because of that, he had to leave, and he had to leave everything he knew, and he met new friends. The next challenge is Nala comes to find him and says, look, we're losing all this food. And because of that, losing all this food, he has to make a decision whether he needs to go back. And he decides to go back. And then there's a peak conflict when he does get back. He has to fight off the hyenas, and he has to fight off, Scar. And so until finally the peak conflict happens. And then he wins. And then the outcome is, ever since then, the pride became healthy again, and the circle of life was restored. And now he was king. So that is the basic storytelling framework. Super simple. And once you know this framework, you can actually tell so many other stories where people can follow you, because this is how they listen to story. This is how they listen. They're trying to make sense of what you're saying, and this is one of the easiest ways to help them follow your storytelling. Is one of the best ways to help them follow and make sense of what you're saying. When you're talking about data and numbers and research, I mean, people's eyes will glaze if they don't know, if they don't understand it. And so that's why story is one of the most important skill sets to actually have. Okay. Any questions about the Pixar framework. Okay, we're going to dive into the problem solution. No, Connie, great, thank you. So here's the problem solution. Using the same visuals here with the mountain and the two plateaus. So this time it's about identifying the problem and then integrating or implementing a solution. So instead of what we had in the beginning, right, the setup and then the what did we call it? The outcome, we're now looking at the status quo. So what is the world as it is now, whether that be, inequitable or environmental degradation or whatever that status quo is now, where the solution might then, if people implement it, will be a new status quo. So a new normal, a new change. So I'm going to give you an example of a problem solution. So when you invite a problem, when you talk about a problem, so I'll talk about it through the lens of my organization, Global Women's Water Initiative. We work in sub-Saharan Africa and we train women to be able to bring clean water and sanitation to their communities. So the status quo, and that's my third TEDx talk. The status quo there is once upon a time, there are women around the globe who have to carry water and fetch water sometimes over 8 hours a day, and they can't work and make money, and girls can't go to school. So that's the status quo. That's the problem. And then we talk about an everyday, so they can't work, they can't go to school. It's the cycle of poverty. So that's the problem we talk about. The disruption is not necessarily, a bad thing. It's this idea solution. It's the solution that is introduced so that some change can happen in their community. So outcome number one, because of us training women to be able to be technicians, trainers, and social entrepreneurs, they are able to provide clean water and sanitation to their community. Because of that, they can earn money doing these professional services. Because of that, they've had global exposure and recognition from the work that they did, even though they are rural women who sometimes are undereducated. And so because of that, they had global recognition. That was the outcome number three. Until finally, so what's happening is there's a collective transformation. The community now has improved health because they have access to water and sanitation. Now girls can go to school. Now all of these, this collective transformation, now that the women have been able to provide clean water and sanitation to their community. So now the new status quo, ever since then, improved health, girls can go to school, women can work and earn money. So now we're talking about the status quo, what the problem was, and what needed to be fixed. And then there's the new status quo. When the problem is fixed, then you have something that is, that is benefiting society. Does that make sense? Who thinks that this is going to be one of their, this framework might be useful? Actually, let me go through the last one and then we'll talk about which frameworks you guys might use. This is a framework I use. Oh, great, Emmy. That's wonderful. Great, great, great. Okay. So now we're going to talk about the nested story. So the nested story is a story within a story. And so if you've noticed here in the graphics, I have a small setup, and then a small, well, at least compared to the others, a small uh, outcome. And then there's another sort of story in there and another outcome. So let's talk about what that might look like. So the nested story is when you start with a personal story. You start with, this is my experience. And then you connect to the audience, with a bigger problem. So let's say you were talking about mental health, right? So your personal story and enduring and trying to figure suffering from some sort of mental health challenge, that's your personal story. The disruption there is how what happened to you as a result, and how it connects to a broader audience. Because here's where you want them to care, right? Why, when you're telling a personal story, why should we care? If you're telling a personal story, it may not be something that's related to me. Why should we care about mental health? This is where you can start introducing why people care. Yeah, Joanne, I think this is for you too. Excellent, I agree. So why should people care? So the status quo. So we talk about the collective problem. So you talk about your personal story, why we should care, and then how it is affecting society, right? What's the status quo that's affecting society, and what kind of challenge is this? How is it affecting not only society, but what is it? Productivity? Is it affecting economics? Is it, how big of a problem is it, and how is it affecting, how we, yeah, Connie, I agree. So Suchan, excellent. All right, the next one is, so the disruption, now you're introducing the solution. So it's very much going back to the problem solution, right? This section of it is the problem solution. So then you talk about the struggles and the outcomes. And then here's where it gets very interesting. And this element you can use on any of your frameworks. Because remember in the beginning when I talked about struggles, one of the things that we can connect with, even though, like I told you that I was, supposed to be in the World Trade Center, you guys might not be able to connect to that story because, it was a tragedy. But what I can't, what I chose to do after that, you might be able to resonate with, because that people have all, endured obstacles, and we had to make a choice. We either made a choice to stay the same, or we made a choice to leap forward and take a leap. And what you can say in this story, the nested story, what is at stake when there's inaction? What will happen if no one does anything? Are we going to have a new generation of kids who don't understand mental health, are ashamed of it, don't, there's no money going into it for, in terms of government support or whatever, hospital support. So what is at stake if this doesn't happen? So that's super powerful, because then it gives your audience like, oh my gosh, what if it did happen? We need to do something about this, right? And so this is where the change happens. This is where the collective transformation happens. This is when you take a leap. This is when people work together to try and transform society. So that's your collective transformation. And then once you take that leap, you now have a new status quo. You've had this collective impact. Maybe you've changed policies. Maybe there is more awareness. Maybe there are, first responders who are not just responding to physical challenges, but also responding to mental ones, right? To trauma and things like that. If we're using the example of mental health. So there's a new status quo. Now there's collective impact. And then you bring it back to you. Right? You can reconnect what either happened to you, or what the key takeaways were for you, or what actions people need to take in order for them to have a personal transformation in this, in enduring mental health challenges, or what we can do as a collective, right? So that's the nested story. Yeah, Kathy, you already use this. Great. Connie, yes, Connie and Suchen, excellent. Michael, what's WIIFM? I'm not a millennial, nor am I what is it for? Oh, what is it for me? Or what's in it for me? Is that what you meant? Yes, yes, yes. What's in it for me? Exactly. Okay, thank you. All right. So those are the three frameworks. I want, Michael's so Kathy shared hers, Connie, Suchen, um, Joanne. Anybody else? Which one might you use? Connie, this is definitely you. Yes, Mavis, resonating a bit with nested. Yep, I agree. The problem solution, Michael. Yep, second one. Agreed. Okay, excellent. So, so the first step in any time before you write a speech or even before you write a book or an essay, whatever, you want to write an outline. And this is the framework you can use, right? And there are many, that because of that, that struggle part in the Pixar story, you can have a ton of because of that's, right? You just want to be able to pull the because of that's that are the most relevant to your story. And right, and there are ways that you can actually mix up the storytelling, the sections, you like with the reveal there, you still use the framework, you just kind of move them around, right? Maybe you talk about the outcome first, and then or you give them a mystery, right? And you say, what could have happened? And then you reveal the big change later on. So Pixar and Next Story. Yeah, Mavis. Yeah. Oh, absolutely, Mavis. You should definitely combining frameworks for sure, because the what you'll find with the Pixar framework, it is basic standard storytelling. You're going to probably use that storytelling framework for anything you talk about, what, regardless of uh of uh what order you put it in. Like, so for example, if you see there's a movie, uh it's called oh gosh, what is it called? So it starts like in the middle of the movie, right? It starts in the middle, then it goes back, or the challenge, um it's or the peak conflict that's happening, but then they stop it before you that you see the outcome, because you have to get history, right? So they go back to like 3 months before, and then they start telling the story in that order, right? So you could definitely move them around, but this is basically the elements, the components of every story, Pixar storytelling, right? Okay, sometimes, Kathy, you're saying Les Mis is the book is actually a nested story. Yep, absolutely. Yep, Michael. Kathy, sometimes start with where I am now and work backwards. Nice, because it's a shocker to everyone how I ended up there. Exactly. That's fantastic, because, you know, we say it wasn't always this way, right? Here's where I am now. I have this, wonderful family. I have this thriving business. I have this. And you go, well, it wasn't always that way. And then you talk about your story. Excellent. So you start with the outcome, and then you work backwards and tell us what happened. That's great. Love that. Love that. Um, that's great, Kathy. Media RI, City of God. Yep. I would problem solving. Yep, Melody, that sounds good. Uh, Michael, City of God started middle of the story, then outcome after caught up. Yep, exactly. This is once you sort of master the elements of each story, then you can mix up the order in any way and start making things really creative, right? Keeping people on the edge of their seats. You know, if you come up with the outcomes like, oh my gosh, how did they get there? I don't know if you guys watched that show here in the United States called Matlock. They start with the murder, and then you know exactly who the murderer is, but then the whole show is about how the detective figures out that it was them, right? And so you just start finding these tiny little clues that you're going, oh, that's how she got that. No, that's how she got it. So really, really cool. Excellent. Okay, so that's the storytelling framework. Those are the three. When I teach my course and when I work one-on-one, I teach the other 10 because we always want to explore. We don't want to just have one option. It's always nice to like try and figure out because I also have 11 different ways you can title your talk as well, because the title is the first thing that people see. Your application is the first thing that your first impression. So you need to have a great title and you need to have a great idea that can be, put into like one sentence or two sentences. So, all right, excellent. So this, Operation 20 TEDx 2025 can begin any time. So what I'm going to be doing for these next 4 weeks, every week I'm going to take the top five, first five people who actually make a reservation to have a breakthrough call with me. We'll spend 30 to 45 minutes and we'll dive into your idea, see if we can't refine it, make it innovative, or, find something clever about it. And that would be TEDx worthy, right? And then we come up with a mini plan to figure out how you step into, so I have there it is. Thanks, Emmy. Emmy just shared the Calendly link so you can actually make an appointment with me, and we'll go through that, and then we'll come up with a mini plan that will help you to, you know, have step-by-step actions that you have to take in order to start applying. And so that is, that's one of my funnest things to do is to actually really work with people and start diving into their ideas. I had a call with Joanne last week, and there are a few others. I don't think anyone here is on that call. What I spoke with last week. So anyway, if you want, there's absolutely no cost to you. I don't do any hard sells. I just really want you all to be ready for this. I mean, like I said, TEDx changed my life, and I want it to change your life too. And at the same time, I want it to change the world, because we need your voices on that stage. These underrepresented, brilliant people like you are, we need you launching conversations. We need you driving those conversations. We need you bringing your solutions so that the world can change. So that's what that is. So make a make an appointment and I will, I'll be excited to do that. Connie just did it. Great. Oh, you already did it. You just need an email. All right. I will send it to you. Actually, I'll send it to everybody. Here you go. That's my email there. Michael, you just need to, yeah, that's fine, Michael. I'll totally accommodate you. I know you're 15 hours ahead. So if you, I'm actually, if you don't mind, I'm going to play just a video of somebody I worked with last year and to get a sense of how I work with you. So, so that you'll, oops, what did I just do? So that you'll get a sense of, how I work and, oops, how I work with you and what we can get done together. And sometimes you'll get stuck and, you know, oftentimes it might spark things. And once it sparks things, it might take you in a different direction. It might make you think of something that you hadn't thought of. And it, you know, it just becomes a working, partner who will help you process some of your information as an outsider, right? Because oftentimes we're super close to our content and super close to our story and super close to our, you know, how we tell it, that we may not be open to another way of telling it. And oftentimes, because I used to work in academia, as I told you, oftentimes what I'll do with my students is, you know, they'll present it to each other and they'll talk about what was the thing that landed with you. What was the part that made you connect, the part that you remembered the most. And sometimes the people who actually gave the talk or told the story won't realize that. And then we talk about what was it that you got away from it? You know, what was the takeaways? And it's inevitable, right? Like I remember when I was in India, I was there for a big thing that the Dalai Lama was giving, and the Dalai Lama was telling these stories, and the people around me, they all had different takeaways from it. I'm like, did we go to the same talk, right? So what's so cool is that, you know, when you have that kind of feedback, you'll see what resonates with people. Because, you know, the same thing as offering a course or doing a talk, you need to speak their language, not yours, right? Your obligation is to the audience to understand it. And if they don't, it's you, it's not them, right? So we want to, you know, I really want you to be able to have that, that flexibility, that insight, that connection, and that need to connect with your audience, because it's going to make all the difference in the world. It's going to make the difference between somebody signing with you or somebody not. It's going to make the biggest difference of how many views you're going to get on your TEDx talk. It's going to make the difference between you and getting more speaking engagements, right? So that's where I really wanted to invite you guys to think about, right? So anyway, great for brainstorming. Yes, Connie, exactly. All right. So I'll have the replay again tomorrow if you missed anything, especially since we're having trouble with the audio. Hopefully, I'm pretty sure Zoom records my end. So hopefully there won't be the disruption that you guys are hearing. And it'll just, you know, be everything that I said. I actually also think I might be able to get a transcript in case it was that choppy. And then the last thing is, you know, I've got 2 more sessions left. So next, she'll send yes, thanks, Emmy. The replay would be in the email. So 2 more sessions left. Next week is going to be all about your application, looking at your expertise and how to share it. And then the next one, the final one's going to be, where do you find these 10X stages and how do you pick the best ones to go? There's over 3,000 of them around the world. So which ones are the best ones for you to be the most competitive? So those are the next 2 weeks. By the end of it, you should be able to apply with me or without me, right? So I'm excited for your journey, and I hope you'll continue to come to these sessions and then, you know, keep in touch and let me know how you're doing on it. I'm so excited. And if you haven't booked a call, please do. All right, gang, have a great rest of your day, night, evening, wherever you are. And you're welcome, Mavis. Yes, of course.
Great information. Thank you, Tara. Oh, you're very welcome, Suchen. Excellent. All right, everybody. Hopefully we'll see you next week. Otherwise, expect an email from me in the next 15 minutes. All right. Take care. Bye.